Hi, Michelle.
Good morning, Matt. Can we go ahead and get
Yeah,
started?
sorry. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. Can you
Okay,
hear
great.
me as well?
Thanks. Let's get this thing going. Sorry to be late. Yeah.
Oh, not a problem. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience as we were getting started. We're thrilled for today. We're going to have a presentation, but before then, I would like to pass it to our director, Matt Bogosian, to give some updates. And as always, we ask if you can please type your name and your affiliation in the chat. Matt Bogosian, the floor is yours.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. And hi, everyone. I am in a remote location. It says David Van Sicklen. I'm on his computer. We are in Massachusetts at a roadshow, AMCC roadshow we're doing around the country, talking to manufacturing communities about what their needs are and describing what we've learned so far on this journey that we've all been a part of to strengthen the manufacturing ecosystem. We're delighted today, as folks know, we got some new people on here. We have two kinds of calls on these Mondays, every week, every Monday. Some are around round robin calls, and others are calls where we have a presentation. Today is a presentation day, and we're delighted to be hearing from Michelle Burris and team about some exciting developments. And so for my report, I just wanted to highlight the webinar that we're going to be having this Thursday, March 30th, at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And let's see if I could impose on somebody here to drop the link to the webinar registration in the chat. That would be great. And make sure to get folks signed up on that. Now, this series is, we're doing a series of webinars around sustainable development in manufacturing. And of course, that includes, 4 different component parts: economic competitiveness, DEI in manufacturing, sustainability, environmental sustainability in manufacturing, and security. So this briefing on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, thank you, Michelle, for putting that in the chat. 2 p.m. Eastern time will be on security and cybersecurity in particular. And so we're delighted to have experts in cybersecurity who will be, sharing their perspective about the scope of the challenge and the scope of the opportunity. So our manufacturers around the country and those in the ecosystem that can help them are not distracted from, these challenges from dictators and thieves trying to undermine our manufacturing efforts. So please register on that link, tune into that. And that's the main thing I wanted to highlight. And so let me turn it back to you, Michelle, for today's presentation.
Thank you so much, Matt. And good morning again, everyone. I am thrilled to be presenting my colleagues, Akareem Spears and Ms. Sharnee Hobbs from Bishop State Community College. Bishop State is a historically Black community college located in Mobile, Alabama. They are also a part of the Century Foundation's Industry and Inclusion Cohort, where we bring together a national learning community of community colleges to diversify manufacturing programs. And we work with regional economic development organizations such as yourself and also employers. So with that, I will introduce Akareem and Sharnee very briefly so we could hear more from their presentation. Akareem just recently became the Dean of Economic and Workforce Development at Bishop State, and Ms. Sharnee Hobbs is the Director of Adult Education. Today, they're going to do a presentation on DEI in manufacturing and the initiatives that they are doing at Bishop State and in the city of Mobile. So Akareem and Sharnee, you should have screen sharing privileges, and we welcome you to the AMCC community.
But thank you for having us, Michelle. We're trying to get this to work. Presentation, and then hopefully we can get some questions at the end.
You want me to share my screen?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. Let me share this one.
I think it's going the same thing for you.
Oh, yours, okay, yours is black too. Okay, let me try. Let me
Do
download
it-
it.
We'll just do it from the presentation. It's no problem. Let's see. Just do it from here. That'll be fine, Ms. Hobbs.
Okay.
Okay, so as Michelle mentioned, we are from a historically Black community. And one of the things we wanted to talk about is how we are workforce development ecosystem. Next slide, Ms. Hobbs. And as Michelle said, Bishop State is a community college in Alabama. We were founded in 1927. We're state supported, open admission, urban community college, and we are SACS COC accredited. We have 3 city campuses serving Mobile and Washington counties and part of the Alabama community college system. We're designated as historically Black college and university, and we focus on academic transfer, technical training, credit, and non-credit courses. And we serve nearly 3,000 students, and that's both through credit side and the non-credit side. I just want to share the numbers in Alabama that are somewhat troubling and that we're trying to address. The unemployment is 6.5%, and the unemployment rate in Mobile County is only 3.2%. However, our issue comes when we talk about labor force participation rate, which is only about 56.4%. So we see that there are a number of folks that could be working that are not working. Also, our non-college going rate for our local public school system is about 64%. Typically, we graduate around 5,500 students, and this is our 2021 numbers. And of those, some went to college, about 1,200 to 1,300 went to college, 4-year college, 2-year college, military, had some training, but the majority of our students did not go to college, or there was no way for us to track them through the clearinghouse. So we have about 64% of our students that are not going to college. And that's about 3,400 students if you put it in raw numbers. Okay, next slide. So our motivation was to provide financial support to students seeking short-term training or a 2-year associate degree leading to employment. We also want to assist the workforce region in providing a quality workforce to local business and industry. And resources, we want to provide resources to provide supplemental funding for tools, equipment, and uniforms. And those are typically hidden educational costs, which also include childcare and transportation. So some of those benefits of providing that is students obtain high wage, high demand jobs. We assist in maintaining our college's enrollment, financial support through tuition fees, et cetera. And non-credit students are able to offset out-of-pocket expenses because typically 99% of our non-credit programs are at no cost to the student. We find a scholarship or some sort of funding through a grant that they won't have to pay out of pocket. Student retention at completion is increased because our goal is to get them in, that non-college going student into a short-term non-credit program, increase their skills and go into a credit-based program. One of the things we talk about is community involvement in our public relations. So the reality, this is where really the rubber meets the road. We talk about industry engagement, or is there a real need for industry to be engaged, or do they just need employees? And if they're not truly committed to working with employees and engaging their population, then we're not going to be successful, because they're going to leave that job and go to the next job.
Akareem, I think, oh, there we go.
Did it pop back up? It went out on my screen.
Yes, it went out for all of us. I think it should come back.
It may be the weather here. We're having bad weather here in Mobile. So I don't know if that's
As an option, if you email it to me, I can share it on my end as well.
okay. I'll do that. I'm sharing with you.
In the meantime, we had a question, Akareem and Sharnee, around what are your priority industries?
Say it again.
We had a question around what are your priority industries at Bishop State?
We have a unique issue here. We don't have a priority industry. We have several industries that are very successful. Manufacturing is one. Chemical process operations is another. Shipbuilding is another. Aviation, we have they're building another final assembly line. And then we also have a huge healthcare system. So we have really good opportunities here. In the city, we have about 10,000 jobs that need to be filled over the next 5 years. And even with, us being at 100% capacity and the four-year colleges here being at 100% capacity, we may not be able to fill those jobs because it's a significant area, and we're booming. We just probably, like many other areas, we don't have the people take all the jobs. But it's a good opportunity for those who are looking for jobs.
Great, thank you, Akareem. And then to clarify for the defense, it's another question is, do you benefit from the Austal training system or Austal training system?
No, so Austal is a little bit different. Austal, they do a lot of their training through AIDT, which is one of the incentive packages that the state provides training for those companies when they come in. And now as that contract stops or eliminates, then we become more involved. Now we do have a ship fitting and marine electrical course that we offer that supports Austal, but a lot of their training is done through AIDT, which is the state arm for training for new companies as part of the economic development.
Okay, I have your slides now, and we're going to go ahead and reshare.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we were here. Reality bites. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So when we talked about, I'll just go over in industry engagement or need. Is industry really engaged, or do they just need employees? Because I think it's critical that industry really engage with their employees. Because again, if you don't truly engage with those employees, but then they're going to go to work for them. The other thing is we talk about technical language. I think that's a real big issue that we talk about, and especially in manufacturing, because when you start talking about industrial maintenance and process technology, I don't think the average 17 or 18-year-old knows what that is. I don't think the average person in the community knows what that is. We talked about, in a recent meeting I had, we talked about procurement. What 17 or 18-year-old knows what the word procurement means? I didn't at 17 or 18. We also talked about DEI and commitment. Is there a real commitment to DEI, or is it just something we want to, opportunity for? Because I think real commitment to DEI is ongoing. It's not just a one-time event or a one-time to being inclusive. Also, trauma-informed approaches. Several of our employees or potential employees have trauma that they haven't dealt with or are still dealing with, and we have to know how to address that as employers and industry partners. And I think it's huge in any any relationship is having a mentor, mentorships such as apprenticeships and work-based learning opportunities that really show and help with retention by providing those supportive services and that mentor that's in that organization. And lastly is constant communication. Don't let things linger. Continue to communicate what's good, what's bad, how we can make changes, because if we don't have that constant communication, and we don't want to repeat what we've always repeated. Next slide. So what are some of the challenges? The challenges that we see are, where are the students, and what that translates is students are for training, and then for those employers is, where are the employees? I don't know, but there seems to be a lot more influencers than there were prior to COVID. There also has to be an investment in employees. It can't just be, coming to work, but there has to be other things, work-life balance that allow folks to participate in the industry. Number of women in manufacturing is a clear challenge for us as well. Changing the culture, a process. How do you change the culture of getting folks to understand that a 2-year degree can be as substantial as a 4-year degree in terms of a salary? Just changing that culture and understanding the difference between technical skill and reimagining workforce development. Workforce development is totally linked to economic development. So what we have to really look at is, not only are we working for these companies to get employees, but we're also looking for these employees to have a great company or industry to work in, because if they're not consistent and they're not happy, then they're just gonna keep repeating the process and we'll keep having turnover. Branding of manufacturing, we have to change what manufacturing looks like. A lot of times we think manufacturing is this dirty, nasty place, but we met with companies recently and they're very clean, they're very technology driven, and they're not anything that we used to think about. And one of the things that we use to address the number of women in manufacturing, we have a program, a mentoring program called GLAM, Girls Learning About Manufacturing, and it's through Manufacture Alabama, and it allows students to work in industry and be mentored by a woman in particular areas of a manufacturing environment. So that's another way that we address that challenge of women. So now I'll turn it over to Ms. Hobbs.
So as a woman that's working in an industry that's connected to individuals getting into the workforce, sometimes it's challenging to explain to other women when you don't have an example. So there are some barriers that are in the way sometimes that keep different diverse groups from entering the workforce through some of our training. So we think it's important that we address those issues head on. And the only thing that we can change is ourselves. So we try to do some things internally to talk about what are we doing that we may be setting up barriers that we're not aware of. So we don't assume anything. So when we go in and we create these programs and we have these different avenues to enter our programs, we try to just get rid of all those things that may affect some students' eligibility types. For example, we have tests that check reading comprehension skills and math levels so that our students have what they need to be successful in those programs. One of those tests is called the TABE test, the test of adult basic education. And we were trying to explain to industry partners that this may not be the only factor that you utilize when you're selecting the students, because we do know that sometimes standardized tests can actually eliminate people because they don't test the things that they're really proficient at, but they also don't give you an idea if that person can do the job of which you're presenting in front of them. So we have to make sure we educate everyone, because we are a tool and an institution of education. We want to make sure that the people that we're working with understand some of those tools that they use to let people inside of their workforce. So we keep an open line of communication so that we are making sure we're developing programs that meet the standards of industry, but we don't want students, a diverse group of students, to not be eligible for these programs. Okay, next slide. So we took some of the information I know from the Century Foundation when we talked specifically about how do we implement action plans so that we could be the change agent. And this is a group of our lineman program, and you can just see for yourself, you can see what the group is made of. And we wanted to see what is it that's preventing women and other women and men of color from entering the program. And like I was telling you earlier, the TABE was something that Alabama Power chose to use, and it was actually it was a barrier for people coming in. So what is the different recruiting method that we could use, and where are we getting the people from that want to be in the class? So we had to look at where are we going? Are we going to the places where we can create a more diverse group? And we talked about the eligibility requirements. So let's see if us talking made a difference. Let's see the next slide. So it did. We did increase the number of males of color, but and we talked about the test of adult-based education. Yes, it's important that you do make sure that we have individuals that have the reading comprehension skills, but utilize what we have here in adult education so that we could help those individuals meet that standard. Give us some time to work with them before we just say, hey, that's it, you don't meet those standards. Let's see what we could do. So we became involved with some of the students here, and you can see that the group got a little bit more diverse, but where are the women? So we had to figure out, how can we get women involved? How can we get women to actually see this is something that you could do and have a career where it could change your life, you know? But if you don't see yourself, it's kind of hard to get women to believe they can do that. So let's see, next slide. So we'll go back one. So we had one young lady that you see, she's right there close to the sign. And so we had to see, can we use someone that can speak on behalf, because I have never climbed a pole for Alabama Power. So it really would make sense for me to go out and to say, hey, I know you can do this, where I really don't know if a woman can do this or not. So we had to get an example and utilize people so you can see it and say, well, maybe I can. If I'm looking for something, I see this is a possibility. So I think when we want to attract people, you have to make sure you have an example, someone that can really, really tell you what it's like. And it may not be as bad as we think. So let's continue to the next slide. So you have to be able to see a good representation before we can go out and make a group a little bit more diverse. And so that's what we did. We talk about it constantly. We look at where we're recruiting. If you're going to the same areas, you're gonna probably get the same people. So go to different places, meet your students, the type of students that you want to attract, you're probably gonna have to go to them, because our buildings, we don't move. So we have to make our recruiting methods different. Let's go out and recruit and retain those people that we're looking for so that we can have a more diverse group. But let's see, what's next. So what does the future hold for us? We want to continue to develop workforce program that address some of the issues in our community. As Dean Spears was telling you earlier, it's really hard to kind of hone on one different program because we have about 5 hospitals here. And so the healthcare is big, hospitality and tourism is really big, but we want to make sure that our community has the skills needed to go out in the workforce, and manufacturing is really big in our rural areas. And we want to make sure that the students that are coming out of high school are aware of what it means to work in those places. What is it I have no idea what processing is, what processing technician is, but what does that really mean? Let's just change the language so you'll know exactly what you'll be doing. We need to make sure that DEI is always on the agenda. We can't leave it behind. We have to always talk about it. And we want industry to be involved. We don't want to just talk about it here on the college level. We want to make sure that all partners are included on the conversation when we're talking about this diversify who we have ready for the workforce. The GLAM program, this is an excellent program. There are a lot of women in manufacturing. They're doing more than just working on the floor level. They're doing a lot of things, but their voices may not be heard because they may not have an opportunity. Like I'm here at a meeting, maybe some of those women don't have the opportunity to go out and speak in the community to let women know that, hey, if I can work here, you can as well. And we want to keep pushing everyone. Like I said, it's really important that we talk about challenges and we just don't ignore it. And mentoring is a wonderful way to make sure that the industry partners that we have and the students that we're also trying to bring into industry have a chance to meet, and they're able to convene, and we can see what can we do as an organization to continue to develop the workforce. So we think our future here at Bishop State is bright, especially for creating avenues, as the picture shows, for our students in our industry we can meet each other's needs.
All right, thank you so much,
You're
Sharnee.
welcome.
And Akareem, we appreciate your great presentation. I think we had 2 quick questions, and I know we're at time, but people are really appreciative of everything you've been shared. The first is, can everyone have access to this slideshow? Because attendees want to see how they can be able to interact with their own HBCUs in their own local communities, and also community colleges that are serving communities of color. So first to ask is, can they have access to the slides and the work you're doing? And the second question is, how are your partnerships with the regional high schools?
The first question is yes, you can have the presentation. And the second question is, we have a really good relationship with high schools. A lot of our high schools operate in dual enrollment. And we've gone to, our president has gone to every high school in our district to meet with the principals to try to further and increase our number of dual enrollment. We were up 33% this semester alone, just in dual enrollment.
I think Akareem may have cut out. Sharnee, did you want to add anything?
Yes, so Mobile County is the largest county in our state as far as high schools. So we do have to partner with our high schools, absolutely. And it's important that we're always constantly there. So it's a constant thing, because I have two high schoolers. You can't just go one time, they will forget you. So we're constantly in the schools and at all stages. Some students graduate a little early. And we're also at not just the high schools. We've noticed that we have to have a presence in elementary at all levels, elementary and middle. We want to make sure our students in the community know that we are here and that we want to be a staple in the community, and that what we have is important to offer for students on all levels. We want to make sure we're completely ingrained into Mobile and Washington County, so that Bishop State is a name that is synonymous with what can get you to the next level, especially in the workforce or transition into a 4-year institution.
Awesome. Well, we have many applauses to give to you both, Akareem and Sharnee, for what you've been doing, especially just seeing all the great work that you've been doing in the cohort. And we really appreciate just how you all are engaging with so many youth, particularly in Mobile, and how you're addressing kind of that non-college completion and non-college attendance rate, and making community colleges a viable path, and particularly the manufacturing sector, and making the sector more representative of women and communities of color. So I got requests in the chat for your email addresses, requests in the chat for your PowerPoint presentation. So we're so appreciative of all your help and for bearing, and thank you everyone for bearing with us with the tech, and I'm glad everything worked out. And Akareem and Sharnee, just thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. We're wishing everyone a wonderful rest of the week, and we'll see you back next week, everyone, at the same time. Akareem and Sharnee, thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation and so insightful.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, bye. Thanks, everyone.
And then